And you are watching slash listening to
Extra
another edition of
extra
Blewetts Blitz.
syllable.
Dude, it tripped me up. I hit go live and the spinning wheel is just sitting there for like 15
You need the
seconds.
intro, dude. You need the intro.
I need it.
That's what's happening here.
So Sabo, football is finally back.
Yes, sir.
2 days of camp, 3 days if you include the walk-ins. I don't think we had any Michael Clemens level walk-ins this time around. But Sabo, how was camp? I know it was hot. I'm surprised that you even got out of there with all the fans there screaming your name. I'm trying to get autographs from you. I'm surprised.
I'm like Paul McCartney circa 1960s. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm surprised you're not out of there with some scratches, some bruises. People, the Sabo-holics out there trying to grab you.
Dude, Sauce. I put a video on Twitter. I caught Sauce. He was working overtime after practice ended. We were up by the pressers, and I went to the side to see if anyone hung down there. And Sauce was signing autographs for fans like 30, 40 minutes after practice was over. So, speaking of that, fans clamoring. Shout out to Sauce.
Yeah, for taking care of the fans. The exact type of player you want on the field, off the field. Some people have like a little bit of the problem with some of the stuff he says on Twitter. I know we got a little bit political recently. People, are going to attack him for that. But overall, I don't think it's like a Mekhi Becton thing. Like I am a left tackle, or putting anything out there that's really really hurting his reputation, in my opinion. So he's good, but good week. Again, football started. The new jerseys came out, which I actually have on a brand new Breece Hall jersey that came in the mail yesterday. We have the Mets sweeping the Yankees, which I believe is Sabo's team is the Yankees, and he talks a lot of shit. So I am glad that the Mets swept them with a dominating performance. Was it 12-2, 11-2 last night? Absolutely dominating the Yankees. So congrats to the little brother Mets fans out there, which is also me. And it's funny too, like the very classic Yankees response when you see, this is the Mets World Series. It's like, dude, we can't be happy without you guys bringing that. Like saying, it's the World Series.
Me and you, I agree with you 100%. Me and you are in a lockstep. Even though I grew up as a Yankees fan, it was more the '90s Yankees, even before the dynasty. So I like the Mets. I actually like the Mets. I would call myself a Mets fan these days. I got so sick and tired of Yankees fans in the mid 2000s. The spoiled ones, the ones that are just, they knew nothing. And once George got crazy with Giambi and all those players and didn't do it the right way, I just cooled off on baseball. So, and SNY, dude, the SNY booth with the Mets.
Gary.
I'll watch SNY in a Mets game over the Yankees anytime. So I think my official Yankees fandom card is done. I think it's over.
Wow. Yeah, no, the Yankees have won two since 2000, or one in like 2001 and like 2009 or something. That's like that, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah,
and 01 and 09.
Yeah. So it's been a little bit since they've really been like, letting the world on fire. And we know that they lit the world on fire because of this, because of the amount of players they're able to sign for the money they had. But nonetheless,
well, dude, I'll tell you this. See, now this is my territory of being a fan. George, the reason they won is because George got suspended. George getting suspended led to Stick Michael and Buck creating it the right way. And George wasn't able to trade away all the players, the young talent like Bernie and Jeter and Mo. So I'm telling you, the salary, they still had a high salary during the dynasty era, but it wasn't crazy. I think the Braves or the I forget who it was. They weren't the top team in 96. So it was more George getting suspended, and Yankees fans argue with me on that. But payroll certainly helps.
Yeah, this stock answered the last 20 years or so, but where are your rings? And if we beat the Yankees, if the Mets beat the Yankees, I shouldn't say we. It's this is your World Series. It's like, okay, I get you're mad. I get you're mad that you guys are dwindling right now. It's okay. So nonetheless, obviously the Yankees have more rings than the Mets actually have to even get into the playoffs before they can really even talk crap. But for a year that was supposed to be really bad for the Mets, good little bounce back recently. They're the hottest team, or they're one of the hottest teams in baseball, as of probably like June or so, maybe late May when they started really turning it on. But nonetheless, not getting into this too much because we only have you for about an hour or so. Sabo's a busy man again, fighting off all the fangirls at practice, going to the practices in the muggy weather. And then obviously doing a stream now. You're doing a stream with Wayne at about 7:00, I believe, as well. So
I gotta set that up. So check that out at 7, guys. Yeah.
So there you go. So Robbie, before we get into it, because we'll do some stuff. We'll do like overall the practices from the last 2 days. The uniforms was the first thing that dropped this week. I don't know if you're the biggest uniform guy out there. Okay, and it's funny too because I was going to guess that you were a uniform guy. It seems like the people who have played sports are always uniform people, and it's the people who don't play sports who are like, I don't care if they play in a pink tutu. It doesn't really matter. Like I get the people who are like that. But it's like you play good, you feel good, you play good. Like that's a legitimate thing now. Obviously, they make millions of dollars to play, good in the Browns' shitty uniforms. Like it doesn't necessarily really matter. But if you played sports, like you like the numbers, you like the aesthetics, you like guys who might wear like turf tape or visors or whatever it may be. And all the people who are like anti-uniform, if you're anti-uniform, don't tweet about it. I don't understand. Like, hey, I hate uniforms. Don't tweet about it. Like, why even put out that out into the ether? Like, just don't even mention it. But I love uniforms, so I think the Jets at this point, Robbie, they should never change again, right? Like you have the old 80s thing, you got the black uniforms, you got the whites, you got the old throwback white helmets with a little bit of like the Joe Namath era and the early 2000s era with the white uniforms. So I think the Jets at this point should not change their uniforms for the next 60 years. At least until I'm dead, don't change them.
Yeah. The people who say, I don't care if they wear pink tutus. Yeah, you do. First of all, you do care. And that's one. Number two, it's identity. If you're part of a team in sports, identity is very important. Players will never admit it, but when you walk up to your locker and you see a shit uniform, it's not the greatest thing in the world. You got to be invested, and the better the uniform, the more you're invested. So it's identity, and uniforms go into identity, and that's important. So I'm a huge uniform guy. I doubt I wear uniforms as much as you or other people, but I think it's really important. Like I was there for the 2019, was it when they changed with Gase?
Yeah, 2019. And you can't really walk into like the beat like with the jersey on because you're not taken seriously, right? It's like if you were to go to I'm trying to think, did you wear a jersey in Carolina? The way, I saw Robbie's dark side a little bit. Me and Robbie hung out for like an hour or two at a bar, but we got after with some Jameson. So
you saw me
until next time.
You saw me in my old age. I could put him back though. I could put him back and hang with the big boys sometimes.
Until next time, are you heading to Miami this season or no?
Miami, I'll probably go to Miami.
Okay, I think I'm going to be in Miami, so we got to link up again.
Wait, was it me and you playing pool? Were me and you tagged up or going against?
Yeah, we played. I don't know who we played, but I'm not even the best pool player, so I'm not going to talk shit like I am a good pool player. But
but we ran it though. I mean, we still ran it.
Quite a few shots deep there. We were running a little bit. I don't know if you remember one of those last shots. I had to jump one of the balls and I actually jumped it and then put the other ball into the pocket, which I've never done again in my rest of my life. Like that's a once in a lifetime shot, but
clutch, man.
It was there. So the uniform thing, man, like that, just don't change them. They're all really good.
I went to that JB Smoove hosted it in New York. It was in the city.
Gross.
A part of my soul left me. Like it started with Darren Lee, Jamal Adams, Woody was overseas. Christopher had his guy do it. So Christopher greenlit it, but I forgot who it was who did it. And it was just terrible uniform. I'm still mad at Jets fans for wanting to change it on Twitter. I'm still mad at them. And agreed. Don't ever change them. What they could do, the only thing you should do is maybe every 10 years, just alternate the primary between the white helmet, old school, and the green helmet ones they have now. That's all. You could do that.
Yeah. I think the 2019 ones they were just gross in general. Like the little like jet stream things here is just it was really bad. And the old uniforms prior to the 2019 ones, they were really nice, but when they went from Reebok to Nike, the green changed and it made it look kind of shitty. But the Reebok Jets uniforms with the old school logo are really nice. Again, they changed them, and now that they have that white helmet back with the white jersey, which in my opinion was the best iteration of that jersey, I think we can only wear it maybe once a year now. I'm not sure how many times we can actually wear it, but hell of a jersey. And I think the only thing they really changed was I know they had the old I don't know if it was on this. I think it was on this side. They had the Jets patch that they removed, so they don't have the patch anymore.
They don't have the patch. It used to be on the left side, right? I think.
Yeah, the left side. So that patch is gone. So it's like it is in the 60s. And I think the font changed a little bit, but dude, nice. They're nice jerseys. Like I said, I got my briefs in 2 days. I got here, so
this new green they have, it probably looks really nice with those white jerseys.
Yeah,
because this green is not as dark as the Hunter green that Parcells broke out in '98. This is a lighter shade. And the only thing I wish they did, I wish they went white face masks with these.
I'm with you.
That's the only thing I wish they did. But hey, one day.
Yeah, so we'll get into camp. The walk-in day, again, there was really nothing drastic about that. Like, there's nothing that really stood out. Obviously, Rodgers wearing like the Sphinx type shirt with a cat or whatever that was a little bit of a shot like to the Egypt thing. I know he said in the post the press conference that he was planning on wearing like a full like pharaoh gown type deal. He said it got a little bit tight, so he didn't want to wear that. But Rodgers taking a shot at the media. Obviously, we'll talk about Rodgers as the show goes on. Doesn't seem to affect him that that he missed 2 days. And he did clarify. I don't know if it was on like one of the shows he goes on or if it was in the press conference, but he did clarify that like, hey, all of these days are the same. I missed 2 of them, but I made the first 10. Clarified that he made the trips or the plan for the trip based off of last year's schedule. Obviously, there was some sort of conflict where I don't know if he had like, it could have been a tour. It could have been like, hey, I'm going with my buddies. My buddy can't go now because of this, whatever it may be. He sacked up a little bit, admitted that he got a fine, but said like, hey, I'm an adult. They knew where I was going. It is what it is. It's fine. The Jets said they're fine with it. Now, again, we talked about this a million times. I think the Jets could have been better in their phrasing and it wouldn't have been as big of an issue. But nonetheless, Rodgers and what you heard from the last day with clarifying the whole Egypt trip. Any thoughts about it?
Yeah, no, not much. I might have said it on your show, actually. Either yours or Asman's.
Yeah.
My point was, it's not nothing, right? It's something. Like it deserves some criticism if you want to give it criticism. Him missing, especially him talking about getting all the non-football stuff out of the room. But at the same time, criticize it for what it's worth, the same level. And in that vein, I've been arguing the only reason it was a huge deal is because of the quote unquote mandatory minicamp for 2 days. That's it. Mandatory minicamp has been the same as OTAs for 2 months this offseason. And Rodgers was there every day. So it's not nothing, but let's treat it to the level it deserves, which is not a crazy level like other people do.
Which is like very minimal. It's a minimal impact. Obviously, we've seen that in camp. It hasn't really done much. But the bigger news of the day was the whole Reddick thing. Losing $50,000 a day, so he's up to 150 now, I believe, because the first day is mandatory as well for just the players walking in and all that stuff. So $150,000. You saw Cooper this week get a little bit of like an addition to his contract. I believe Sutton just got some additions to his contract. Now people are saying that he wants $25 to $28 million. I don't see that as happening. I see the Jets maybe giving him some guaranteed money in the deal and then sweetening a little bit, maybe a couple of million in incentives, but I don't see them getting anything over $20 million. I think that's probably about the cap for where he's at, because then you're kind of like negating the value in trading for him, right? Because you're getting a really good player on a cheaper contract for 1 year. The Jets are saying that, hey, we're going to give him some sweeteners. Obviously, he kind of went back on his word, according to the Jets. But now they're saying that, hey, unless he's going to come to camp, we're not going to negotiate anything with him. So what do you think about the whole Reddick situation?
Yeah, agreed. It's again, they have the trump card. What's he going to do? Not play? No, he's got to play. If he doesn't play and sits out the entire season, even sits out a few weeks, he's going to destroy his value for next year. So he wants to get paid. He's driven by money, and the criticism I'm hearing, which I understand. Douglas comes from Newsom. How can you ever bring in a guy in which it's not locked up, in which it's such a unsure situation? And I get that on its own, on its face, but I factor in Huff, and I factor in other situations. The circumstances were dynamic; they were changing. I view Reddick in a different light than Huff, not the same player to me. So I think in the end, he's going to hold out. And listen, let's be honest, Joe. Players, they don't mind missing camp. Like, they'll take the fine and miss a couple weeks of camp and be fresher for the season, put up better stats, and get that contract. So I'd be shocked if it's not a holdout for 2 weeks at the max, maybe 3 weeks if we're stretching it. He comes back, they appease him with 2 or 3 more million this year, and he plays out his walk year. I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I just don't think it makes sense for the Jets to give him, $10 more million and then he walks, because the Jets only have $6 million, left in cap space. And all these people are talking about like Devontae Adams at the trade deadline. If you're going to renegotiate with with Redick and have to renegotiate, let's say, you know, whoever else's deal, Quincy's deal, Q's deal, how are you going to make money for Devontae Adams? And then on top of that, in coming years, pay Garrett Wilson, Sauce, and all that stuff. So I think the part of the Jets thinking was like, hey, you know, again, this is a 1 year type situation. You know, we're gonna trade that 3rd round pick. We're gonna hopefully get the 4th round comp pick back. But part of the value is that he's playing on a relatively cheap deal. So I don't just see them saying, hey, here's this $5 to $10 million. Just take it, kid. It's fine. Like, to make you happy, because yeah, the Jets, you know, they both need each other at the end of the day, but the Jets have Redick by the balls. Like, Redick has to play for a new deal. He's not going to not play. There's no way I see him sitting out, because I believe if he sits out the entire year, the Jets still have him in 2025, right? Like, you can't just sit out and then not, you know, free yourself the next year of that team. So if he sits out, the Jets just retain him. 100%. So he has to play.
100%. He has to play. And what are you gonna do? Sit out the entire year, take all that fine? You're negating your future earnings. I mean, it's listen, he's doing the right thing. If he wants a contract now and he wants extra now, he's doing the right thing. But it's not. I don't see it going anywhere. I really don't.
Yeah, for sure. So I see them guaranteeing the deal, because I get, hey, at the end of the day, if I'm on a 1 year deal, I have no money guaranteed. If I go out there and tear my ACL, you guys can cut me, and then I don't have any money. Okay, fine. Again, give them the $15 million, give them the whole year guaranteed, give them $5 million-ish in incentives. But I just don't see them just throwing on a bunch of money for throwing on a bunch of money. It just doesn't make much sense based on the Jets having the upper hand. And yeah, again, it's not the best. It's not the best in terms of like optics. You know, you have a lot of people making fun of the Jets, but it's an interesting situation. You don't really know who's telling the truth. You have the Jets who are reporting through guys like Connor Hughes or whoever it may be, who are saying like, hey, when we traded for him, we agreed that we were going to give him some type of sweetener and then negotiate a deal as the year goes on. But now you have him not showing up. So whose fault is it really? You know, I don't think we'll ever really know until, you know, maybe there's like a tell-all at the end of the season, or Redick comes out and says exactly what happened. But it's a thing where it seemed like he agreed, at least in the Jets' view, to come and play and then negotiate as the year went on, like they did with JFM when they signed him, you know, week 5 or 6, whatever that was, that year right before we played the Falcons in London. So it's an interesting situation, but again, I do think he has to play with the Jets so at some point. So a little bit of sweeteners, and then he'll play. Is there anything else you want to add on to the Redick thing before we get to some chats, and then get through some of these practices?
No, I can see, only playing devil's advocate, you know, in his corner, what he has going for him is the edge depth really isn't great. So, you know, it does Salah panic and push the button to Douglas. I doubt it, especially with McKinley. Actually, you know, I'm not saying McKinley's he's a lock to make the team or do anything special, but you know, he's playing better than I ever thought he would. So, you know, McKinley, Watts, maybe. So right now the depth is in Redick's favor, but that could change quickly. So we'll see.
Yeah, speaking of the D-line, and we'll get to the chat a little bit as we go here, but talking about the D-line, you're saying McKinley's making some plays, which I saw him making some plays today, apparently. You have Eric Watts, who I believe was making some plays as well on the defensive line. And I know it's pretty hard with especially the trenches and like running the ball. It's almost impossible. Like, in my opinion, you're watching the back seven and the skill players more in camp than the trenches.
With no replays, for the trenches, it's impossible with no replay.
Yeah, people don't understand when you're on the field level how hard it is to really evaluate the offensive line, and they're not in full pads yet, right? It's like, it's almost impossible. Just watch the corners, watch the receivers, watch the tight ends, watch the quarterbacks. If you waste your time with your eyes inside, that's on you.
What you do is, what I do anyway, is, especially if it's Rodgers, you look at the trend when they're walking up to the line, look at the trenches, see what Rodgers is looking at. Okay, then you look at the DBs, see where the safeties are. Go back to Rodgers, see if he changes anything, see if there's any motion offensive wise. And then at the snap, if it's a run, try to get a hang of the rush concept, see if anyone's coming on a run blitz. If it's a pass, go right to the coverage, see what the coverage is. And then hopefully you could try to see what Rodgers' eyes are doing during that time. So to your point, you can't really break it down in real time. The trenches, the rush concepts, and the line. You just really can't.
And you can't really say, even if you think like, hey, this is a counter, counter GT or whatever it is, you can't say it because they'll, then you get in trouble. So.
Yes, you can't say that exactly. Like Brees and Braylon had two pretty identical concepts today. We'll call them wide, east west.
Got you. Yeah, got you.
And they both hit pretty well at the point of attack. But again, It's hard. It's hard from the sideline, but it looked pretty good from the naked eye, offensive line wise, and that was
Yeah,
behind Schweitzer and Mitchell's side. So that's pretty good news too.
and I give Sabo a ton of credit because I've been to some of those practices. I personally do not enjoy going to the practices. I don't know if
It's
Sabo, if you
frustrating.
do. Just you can't really see a ton, and it's hot as hell out. So I prefer to stay home and get the reports from guys like you.
Yeah.
But NYJ Matt said it on Twitter the other day. I think Sabo is legitimately the best follow. If like, and there are other people who do a good job, but like. You're like, oh, he rotated down. He thought it was a middle of the field close, but it went to a middle of the field. Oh, I'm like, how the fuck do you see this in real time, Sabo? Like, it is impressive. So you can tell you've been around the football field as a coach plenty.
That's it. I mean, dude, listen, I tell everyone I'm envious of you not being able to dig into the film as much as I want to, and that's going to change, folks. Trust me. This summer, it's happening. But I get my fix. I get my fix being there in real time, practicing games. It's tough to do it on the fly. You're going to make some mistakes at times, but there's an art to it. Try not to be so specific where you could be really wrong. Just be honest about it. Like not sure who that was. As long as you go that route, you'll be fine.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, defensive line, Watts, McKinley. Heard a little bit about Fotu making some plays in the run game. Again, it's really hard in the trenches to know exactly what happened. But anything else stand out? I know Kinlaw looked apparently pretty yoked up, which he's like that's his thing. He's always been an elite athlete. The problem comes from the actual technical side of the game and understanding run concepts. That's the problem. It's never been, hey, he's not a physical freak. So, but apparently he looked pretty good as well. So
yeah, I mean, he's tall too. I mean, as a tall defensive tackle, it's tough. Like you gotta compensate in a lot of different ways. But yeah, his legs are tree trunks. He is built. It looks like I felt like he added weight, but apparently not. That's 1, 2, Leaky. I didn't see him because I don't know if he was with the first team or second team, but
yeah,
he's got to be the goal line guy. And can he do it? I don't know. The short yardage guy, I should say. Because after him, what do you have? I mean, Tanzel Smart, Solomon. Solomon's okay, but with McKinley, yeah, he got. I think other guys were saying he had 3 sacks or whatever. I don't really pay attention to the stats. I just know he moved his man in a pretty physical way a couple times, and on another play, which I'm not calling a sack. I mean, Tyrod got rid of the ball, but it was a play action boot, and it was done well enough where you could see the backside edge, or in this case, play side edge crash, and he didn't. He just stayed home. Like he was disciplined. So it's a good call out that a new guy, a first round bust, is disciplined on a play like that in practice.
Yeah, for sure. And we're hearing there was some chatter on Twitter that people were concerned that Clemens was with the first team. And it wasn't McDonald. I'm not looking so much into it again. Camp day 2, it could have been for a certain run look, whatever it might have been.
It's base. So McDonald, you could understand them putting Clemens and Bays over McDonald right now, at least to start. Listen, you don't want Clemens starting. I think he's fine as a backup. But that is an issue to the point with Reddick before. So we'll see.
Yeah. And hopefully Reddick should be back soon. I don't see him really taking so much time off. But McDonald did have a pass deflection, apparently on one of those plays. So have you seen anything from him in terms of like, again, I know it's hard with the trenches. So some of these, and you said you'll be honest, and it's good to just be transparent if you haven't seen a lot of things. But has McDonald been standing out in any way?
McDonald stood out on the first day yesterday. The coverage was insane. It's not like Rodgers stunk and the offense stunk. It was the first day they're trying to get into things. And red zone, the first red zone sessions, which happened at the end of practice, more towards the end of practice. The first play was a bubble to the right to Garrett, completion, but it only went for 2 or 3, maybe even no gain, because Michael Carter, that dude's a stud. Michael Carter read it instantly, read it as quick as you could read it, and pushed Lazard, squeezed Lazard to the sideline to allow Sauce to make the play coming down the sideline. Kept his inside shoulder free. A couple plays later, they tried it to the left side, and McDonald was in the right place to get the PD. So my eyes were on the perimeter, so I didn't see what McDonald did against the left tackle, but he was in the right spot. So that's a tip of the cap right there.
Yeah, and then some other things you heard about the defensive line. This is really the only other thing, unless you have anything to add to it. But there were some people. I don't know if there's like a quote from a coach or who said it, but there was some like JJ playing inside type of rumors floating around on Twitter. I will shut that down pretty much immediately in terms of like him playing like a true 3-tech 2-eye
correct
1-0. Now, if you're going to have him in certain looks like standing over the center, yeah, and he's going to be twisting, stunting, that type of stuff, yeah, sure. Or even situations last year, like there would be times where, hey, you know, let's say like it was like a 2-jet and the center went to his left, and then you have the right tackle isolated with, let's say, McDonald. Then there'd be times where they'd isolate like JJ versus the guard. Like I could see them playing around for a little bit and getting JJ versus a slower guard and him using his athletic ability to maneuver around him, you know, laterally. But in terms of like being a 3-tech who's going to stand up versus double teamed and shit like that, like that's not how you should think of JJ, air quote, playing inside, right?
Correct. They did this more towards the end of the year last year, messing around with things, more three down sub packages, and they'd you know, do a double B gap show, or mainly B gap, but that's what it'll be. It'll be a 3-3-5 or 3-2-6, whatever you want to throw out there, and then JJ, you know, showing in the B gap. It won't be 3-point stance. And it makes sense though, you know, running more of those you know, Rex Ryan-ish stuff without the flexibility of JFM going inside and outside, I think.
I was actually thinking about that the other day because I saw like an article or somebody comparing the 2010 Jets to 2009 Jets to the Jets of now, and comparing the defenses and like who has more talent. And I think this team does have more talent than that team. I wish I could have saw what Rex would have done with the talent on this team if he didn't have to blitz as much as he did.
Yeah.
Because like that would be impressive. Because you look at the edge rush, like Calvin Pace, Brian Thomas.
They had nothing. They had
Chris
Jason
Jenkins,
Taylor.
Sione Puha. Like, you know, I think that was the team. I don't really remember all the guys.
Yeah. I liked Pua. But he was an interior guy. He's a beefy dude. I mean, edge rushers, they really didn't have much. And you know, Rex, he blitzes. The question is, if he did have talent, how much would he force himself not to blitz? That's the question. I don't know if he'd be able to do it. But I agree. This team has more talent overall.
So I'm going to run through the chat really quickly before I get to like the checklist of things we want to ask, just so I'm not so far behind in the chat. We have LFG Jets from Dakota. Dakota, sorry, and it's not Dakota anymore. He traded to Dakota. The Jets.
Dakota. Why? What happened there? Why is it Dakota?
I have no idea. Nose kills, Sauce holds on every play. Meanwhile, 31 teams are looking for. Which, by the way, like those rankings and like, I don't want to like shit on the NFL and all that stuff, but like it kind of shows you with certain contracts being handed out. Again, Dalvin Cook last year getting a big contract, or Uzama getting a big contract, or like in Tomlinson getting a big contract, or Sauce not even being in the top 10 of corners for certain NFL evaluators. Like, okay, listen, I get not having him 1, maybe not 2, maybe not even 3 for certain people. Like, fine, even though you're an idiot and you're wrong. Okay, I understand it. You're in the realm of realism. If you don't have Sauce in your top 10 guys, you don't know what you're watching. Or you do, and you're just straight up biased. So, like, the NFL kind of like proves themselves to me every year that they don't know as much as I think people think they do. Especially, again, Sauce not in the top 10. That's quite absurd, right? Right, Sam? I don't think we're being so biased there. Like, we're not. No. I'm not screaming because, oh my God, not everybody had him at number 1, but all pro player. You know, 2 years into his career, year 1, he was number 2 on this list. Now he's number 3. And there were certain people who didn't have him in the top 10, like just absolutely ridiculous. The guy is obviously a stud. So
completely agree. And if it rubs people the wrong way that he's handsy, then, you know, you're revealing yourself, you're revealing your own biases, because it doesn't matter how he gets it done. It doesn't matter if, you know, his art in the way he does it gets him off the hook in terms of the officials. The point is he gets it done. Period.
Dude, and like Sabo, and like we know it, and it is what it is. Like certain people just also don't know what they're looking at too, in terms of like incidental contact or hand fighting or arm barring a guy, you know, getting your arm over top of his arm so he can't go up for the ball.
There's an art
like
to
how many
100%.
How many? Yeah. And Sauce is great at that art. And like, how many people are like, you know, the ball is up there and then Sauce face guards a guy, or he's trying to, you know, play through the hands, and they're like, oh, he didn't even look back for the ball. That's pass interference. Like, no, you fucking
no,
that's not pass interference. Like, you don't have to look back for the ball.
Yeah,
like it's just so stupid. So
face guarding is not a official penalty. It's one of those. I don't know what you want to call it. It doesn't matter where your eyes are, as long as you're not making contact with the guy. Sauce is smart in the way that hand on hip is is just his starting point. Like, he maintains contact the entire way, so there's no break points. Like, when you're covering a guy, where you'll get into trouble is if there's extremes, no contact to a lot of contact, or a lot of contact to no contact. You'll give up a big play. He keeps it consistent, and that's the art.
Yeah, he's really good at like guiding the route with that hand on the hip and just feeling it. You get to feel the breakdown, you get to feel the breaks. It's you want that point of contact. Having a hand on that hip, having a hand like this small to back is huge in defense. But
and he'll even extend his arm to maintain contact, but he's not pushing. He's not pushing the guy or impeding him. And it'll drive other people nuts, but that's how he keeps it consistent. And if you keep the contact consistent, you're gonna be a good coverage guy.
Yeah, I'm trying to run through the chat that we're not going to really like get into. Let's see. Eagle Thing says, I love we are bringing back the classics, but the 1996 jerseys on the Jets, I'll always love the most, even though we did not win in those jerseys. Talk about like the old like Kelly, like the Kelly Greens, like that's.
I like the 80s Kelly Greens more because it had white face masks and white trim. The 90s version was black trim, and I didn't like those as much.
Tyson says, missed the beginning. If you claimed Reddick is okay, we don't need him and his diva bullshit. I'm going to argue we don't need his diva bullshit. We need Reddick, though. Reddick is a top 5, sack producer in the NFL the last 4 years. We need Reddick on this team because if you don't have him, even though Watts is making plays, McKinley's making plays, this Jets defensive end group goes from plus, and I don't think it's as good as it was last year. Well, even if it's on a similar plane, because they had better depth last year, it goes from a plus unit to a unit that's below average, in my opinion. Because you're until McDonald completely proves himself, and JJ even proves himself to be, a plus edge rusher. There's a lot of questions with it in terms of the starters, and then the depth. You're talking about what Michael Clemens and Eric Watts as your depth. It's not going to work. The Jets absolutely need Reddick as well.
It's not good. You're down. You can't count on McKinley or any of the UDFAs yet, so you're down JFM and Huff. That's not good. Like, they need Reddick for sure.
I thought you were laughing because you were. I don't know if you laughed because you saw the chat on the screen, but we have Dan Sabo in here again, who I believe is. I believe that's your dad.
Oh, little brother. No, see,
brother. Okay.
I was setting up the Corbett show at 7, so my screen is on. Setting up the Corbett show.
No, I know you're running around, but your dad commented last time. So your brother Dan, your dad is
what's he saying?
Frank? He just said you could set up a whole hour for Robbie Sabo to talk about uniforms.
Oh yeah, for sure, dude. He's a uniform guy too. Like we're both pretty good.
He probably played sports.
Yes, absolutely.
There you go. It's usually the people who do not play sports who hate uniform talk. That's what I've found. I have not found one person who's played any sport at like a relatively high, like not even like just up to high school, who do not like uniforms. None of my friends who played football are like, oh, I hate uniform talk. Everybody's like, oh, I like that number. I like the little angle of that 7 and how it's different from the last one. Like I don't know. A lot of guys are like that. So
agreed. There's no other way. That's the only life I know.
Okay, let's see. There was a report he was told before the trade that they would guarantee his money. He declined. Jody still traded. But this is the Reddick stuff. We don't really know exactly what happened. It's he said, she said type stuff. So I'm not going to try to get into it so much. But Malk Dog says, I know it's early, but what's the running back order after Brees? I also see we'll talk about Lazard in a little bit. But I guess we can hit the running backs quickly. Obviously, Brees looks like a stud. He said he's gonna get 1,000 yards this year. I didn't watch the interview, but we know that probably to be true. He would have had 1,000 yards last year if the Jets sideline guys can do math, which is mind blowing to me that they got that wrong. Not even by a yard, Sabo, but like 6 yards. How do you not? It's not even multiplication or division. We're talking about addition. Like they cannot add. That was quite wild. But I think Allen and Davis have been relatively quiet the last couple of days. At least I haven't really seen anything on Twitter, but past them, I haven't seen anything of Izzy, but I have been seeing some Cohen stuff. That Cohen still has some of that burst.
Cohen, dude, Cohen could still put his foot in the ground and go. Like he still has that acceleration. Mm-hmm. I'd be shocked if he doesn't make the team.
Really?
So yes.
That's a pretty bold prediction in terms of like you're talking about some of the training camp battles and bold predictions for training camp. You're thinking that and he was making plays in OTAs as well, so he's carried it over to camp now, and you're saying he's a lock for the roster if you had a bet.
I think so. Well, not nice. Lock, but I'd be surprised because right now the punt return, kick return team is pretty small. It's narrowed down. You got Who was out there today? Shoot. Cohen, Codrington, and Xavier were fielding punts. That's one. Number two, the running back order, going back to the comment, it's Brees clearly number one, and he's not getting every rep. They're rotating in and out. Braylon is number two. Clearly, Isaiah Davis is number three. After that, it's Cohen, and then Izzy. Izzy is looking up at everybody. Clearly right now. He's on the third team. He had a nice play today. I didn't see what the concept was to the right side, and it probably would. I mean, you don't know if he was going to be tackled, but went to the house. Like nothing impeded him. And then Xavier and Brees were excited for him. You could tell like guys are trying to get him going because he's probably a little disappointed, disenfranchised where he is on the depth chart. You know what I mean? You've been there with athletes where they're disappointed, they're trying to fight through, and you understand these two rookies came out of nowhere and they're above him on the depth chart. But that's a clear order. Like he's not even getting, rotation of reps on that second team yet, which is surprising. So that's the order right now.
Yeah. Mickey Rosa says, Robbie and Joe, you guys are my two favorite when it comes to Jets talk. Don't normally catch it live, but thanks for the content. And then immediately after, Alex says, why are your live notifications not going out? I don't know. Maybe it's
live notifications. What are you talking about?
Yeah, apparently on YouTube, the last couple of weeks, people are saying that the notifications aren't going out when we go live. So I don't know I don't know what that's about, Robbie. But hey, get back into no film for you, Robbie. Get back into your dark room to do some more tech shit.
Well, I just put out a notification to the app. So if you have the JetX app, you would have just gotten a notification. So who was that commenter? Download the app. You'll be good with that.
Yeah, Rivka says Rivka made a great point to me today, which I will bring up in a little bit. But she says I keep wondering about that. Don't you think Rex was just a reckless defensive play caller who would have called crazy blitzes? And Rex like, and I was a pretty casual football fan here, but it's not like he wasn't smart as well. Like he did a lot with not the best talent. Like listen, like the defensive line had some talent, not the most talent. David Harris, and I don't want to get hung here by Jets fans. I think he was probably a little bit overrated by fans.
Agreed.
He was a decent linebacker, but he couldn't cover for shit. Your safeties were solid, your corners were solid, but like the defensive front was nothing to like write home about necessarily. Like they were a solid group, but I think Rex did a lot more than that group would maybe do with other coaches. So I'm not gonna say he was just reckless. Like he was pretty damn good at his job in his heyday.
Very, very smart. And very underrated in terms of coverage, putting coverages together in terms of game planning for the right team. Like if you go back and watch that Pats win in the playoffs, it wasn't just about the pressure. Like a lot of those pressures were based on coverage. That game, the coverage was unbelievable. And I mean, listen, you got a great weapon with Revis. Basically, he could lock up Revis on one weapon and then do hybrids across the field. But Rex did a lot of that stuff and it flew under the radar. Rex is very smart. Where he got into trouble is when he just said, screw it, I'm going after the quarterback too much. That's all. And every coach has their thing, and that was Rex's.
Yeah, thank you to Nate. We have Rivka says, you think Cohen will be the kick returner, punt returner, as well as running back 4?
I think Xavier will be the punt returner and Cohen will be the main kick returner.
Yeah, and I don't know if you have any other special teams notes, but the only really thing that I saw of note past like some of the lineups of who was returning kicks and punts was that Corley was on a kickoff return and he fumbled it, and then they immediately sent him to be a gunner. So apparently he had a Corley kick return fumble, which is something that I don't know if it was Rivka or like something, or maybe it was a show with you or Nani. I forget exactly. Which, by the way, little announcement: Nani is going to be coming on every other week now. So we have Sabo once a month as of right now, I believe. We have Nania every other week. So then we have one show. We're going to do call-ins or just I'll do solo or whatever. But Nania every other week now, people. So you'll see Nania next week. But yeah, Corley fumbling a kick return. And I said it a couple of weeks ago. It's like people just assume like, hey, this guy is shifty and fast and he can get some yak. That means he could be a kick returner or a punt returner. If you've never done it before, it's not as easy as people think it is to catch the ball one and then have the vision to do it. So, but catching the ball coming from 60 yards in the air or however high it is, maybe not 60 yards, maybe it's 40 yards, but however high the ball is, it's not as easy as people think it is. So Corley fumbling a kick return, obviously not the best start, but there's plenty of time to bounce back.
Yeah, and it's no nonsense. Like for example, Barry Sanders, horrible kick returner. Like kick returners have to be no nonsense. your vision has to be good, and you have to be quick, and you have to. And Barry was a dancer, so Corley will be interesting with the return game. I didn't see that fumble. I saw Codrington fumble on the punt return in positionals. It wasn't teams, but that's interesting with Corley. The point there is he was taken out right away. Is that what you said?
Yeah. So I saw, and again, this is based on somebody else's report. It could be 100%. Not hopefully it's not false. You hope you trust the people you follow and stuff like that. But yeah, I heard that he fumbled it and then he immediately was sent to be a gunner and not a kick returner. So it's probably like a discipline thing. Like, hey, I think Boyer is more of a no nonsense guy.
Well,
so
here's the good news.
Hey, he's done forever. But
Joe, this is the good news. It's not just Boyer. Saleh, he confirmed it after practice today. On a couple of occasions, more than a couple, any dead ball foul in teams or 7-on-7s, the guy gets yanked for at least a play. It happened with Tyron Smith. It happened with Simpson. So it doesn't matter who the person is. If you commit a dead ball foul, you're getting yanked for at least a play. And Saleh confirmed it after practice. And this is a positive departure from the undisciplined play we saw last year.
Gotcha. So we got another like 15, 20-ish minutes with Sabo, and then he's going to jump off and he's got to set some stuff up and eat dinner and take a nap and take care of his dog and do a bunch of other life things. I'm sure your dog is probably pissed at you that you haven't been hanging out with her or him or whatever it is. Yeah. I think we have the same dog, right? You have a golden doodle, I believe.
Yes.
You have, right?
It's one of them. It's the half golden retriever. I got dog allergies. It's the worst.
Me too.
So I need a dog that doesn't shed. And when I was looking for a dog, the perfect breed was this, because you want that golden retriever personality. And there's some you get into trouble. There's some where it's 75% poodle, and they could be annoying as hell. But this one just sleeps and waits for the next time to go out. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's what my dog is doing right now. It's half Bernie's mountain dog and half.
That's right, Bernedoodle. Yeah, those are cool. Yeah, they got good personalities.
Yep. Yeah. Like you said, the shedding thing. If not, I can't have a dog. And I'm not having a dog. I can't have it. So, Merry Christmas, everyone to MM. Yes, excited that football is back. We have the preseason game. Today is the 26th today, Sabo? 25th?
25th.
We like 15, 16 days until the Jets' first preseason game against is the first one against the Commanders, I believe. I could be wrong on the first one.
I think Carolina second. Because it's in
Carolina second, Giants third, and I think Washington's first. So, last year we'll break down the film of the preseason. We'll figure all that out with the with our stuff. But moving on to the quarterback again, we have you for about 20 more minutes, 15, 20 minutes. So Rodgers, hearing he's lighting the world on fire. Obviously the first practice didn't seem as good. But I don't know if, again, I trust, and this is not to talk shit about anybody else. I trust Sabo, and that's about it. Cause you just got to display to me that what you're seeing, whether it be breaking down film or whether it be you're a coach and you kind of really know what you're talking about. I think Sabo is the only person I, again, truly trust. So if you tell me, hey, he played fine the first day, then I'll believe you. But you heard the first day, it wasn't so great. Today he went, I believe, like 10 of 12, where he only missed 2 passes. So how has Rodgers looked? It seemed like the arm, today, first play of the day, he had Garrett Wilson up the left sideline, burned DJ Reed. So Rodgers is looking back to form.
You know how practice goes. Sometimes the coaches set it up for certain situations, and sometimes the offense is going to shine intentionally, sort of, because you're going to run certain situations where the defense is going to stay in a certain coverage or be limited. And same goes for offense. The good news with Rodgers is he's really involved. They give him a lot of freedom, and he could do things at the line in certain spots. I saw that yesterday. I saw that today. And yesterday, he wasn't bad yesterday. I mean, a little off here and there, little rusty, not terrible. But again, it was more coverage today. Aggressive Jets defense. We know they're aggressive, especially out wide with Sauce and DJ Reed. First play of the game, no nonsense, right up to the line. No looking over the line. Rodgers got the solo high look he wanted, so knew he had one-on-one on the outside. Double move by both outside guys, both boundary guys. Garrett,
like a sluggo or something like that.
I don't know
if you could even say that, but
Lazard was closest to us with Sauce on him, and he did an out and up. So I don't know what Garrett did on the other side. It was either a sluggo or an out and up against Reed, and he torched him. So it was a 60+ yard touchdown. in stride, good protection all the way around. So the mindset, letting the offense come out and trying to open the day right with a double move against an aggressive defense, you gotta love that. That's the
When
first
is
call
the
out.
last time? I think the last time, maybe you tell me if you remember differently. The last time I think the Jets hit like a vertical play right off the
Oh,
jump was 2015 Ryan Fitzpatrick
has
versus
to
the
be.
Dolphins in London, right? That was the last time.
Has to be. And listen, we know Zach Wilson, who he is, what he did with the Jets, but my God, there were so many situations where you just needed him to chuck it up in a one-on-one situation.
Yeah.
I mean, defenses were daring them to do it. And with Rodgers, he's going to eat it up. If you go one-on-one too much and drop that safety, he's going to eat it up. And that's what he did on the first play. He hit Garrett Wilson a bunch more times later on in the game. Lazard again had a strong day. Lazard, for the second straight day, ended practice on a touchdown on the goal line in red zone in a situation where he's finding room and he's moving and he's thinking along the same lines with Rodgers, and they're in sync. And to me, I think Lazard's playing the Mike Williams position right now. I call it the X, but it's probably not the X. Just in my mind, it's the X based on the body type.
Yeah.
So I think Lazard's playing the Mike Williams spot, and then the other spot is still Xavier, who's been quiet the first 2 days, by the way.
I was going to ask that because I know you were on, kind of on
Yes.
Gibson at the jump or off the first couple of practices, saying that he was pretty good. So you haven't really heard much of him, or you haven't really seen much of him.
He's been pretty quiet. He's firmly on the first team with Lazard and Garrett, but he's been pretty quiet in terms of targets, which is surprising because Rodgers hit him a lot in OTAs. He did have somewhat of a drop yesterday. It was a shallow cross, a little behind him. Ball went straight up in the air in the red zone. You got to make that catch.
Oh yeah.
No, got to make that catch. Wasn't the best pass, but you got to make that catch. And the other call out is Corley. He's quiet. He's still learning the system. Obviously, he's still learning the system. Entrenched on the second team with Irv Charles and others. And the other call out is Ruckert. Ruckert's getting really involved with the first team.
Yeah. I'm gonna run through it a little bit, like position by position. But with Lazard, in terms of Mike Williams like coming back, like, do you think he is kind of making a case for himself to see reps? Because we were saying, hey, if Mike Williams is healthy, he might be a healthy scratch, considering that you have Gibson as like a quasi starter. You're gonna have Corley on the team, obviously. Mike Williams and Garrett Wilson. You might have, Charles as the gunner. So do you think he can make his case for actually having like a legitimate role on this team, even if Mike Williams is healthy?
Yeah, I think so. It's
because of the familiarity with Rodgers.
That and he's versatile. He can play all three spots. So, being able to play outside the slot, that's really valuable. Irv can't do that. Corley can't do that yet. And will Corley be there in September? To what degree? I don't know. Brownlee, I haven't seen much of Brownlee flashing, so I think Lazard is pretty secure. The question is, who's going to get more run as the third receiver in 11 personnel, Gibson or Lazard? That'll be the question, I think.
You have Garrett Wilson winning vertical. I have a Rivka messaged me, and she actually said, I guess Rodgers said something to the effect of like, sometimes he breaks down a little bit too much when he could just speed cut. And she said, like, that's exactly what you said in your review. So I guess when I was reviewing Garrett Wilson, I was saying that he dances a little bit too much at times.
Yeah, he trips himself up sometimes. Yes, because his mind gets so far ahead of his body.
And there's even times like too, and I forget exactly. And it's a blessing and a curse. I do a lot of reviews because like I do thousands of plays and I'll forget exactly what I talk about with certain players. But I know there are times where even if like, and speed cuts are more for like zone and getting, and just getting to a spot instead of breaking down what you see like more versus man coverage. But there were some times where I would see Garrett Wilson, like, hey, this guy is 5 yards off of him. No reason to break down right here. Just get to your spot, speed cut it. And then Aaron Rodgers is also saying the same thing, which makes me look good, obviously, if I'm saying the same thing as Rodgers. And then last year, just to toot my own horn a little bit, you had, or 2 years ago, Breece Hall bouncing runs a little bit too much to the outside. And I said in one of the reviews with Kyle Smith, on a stream, I was like, hey, he needs to get vertical quicker. I think Salo the next week came out and says like, yeah, he has to get vertical quicker. I'm like, let's go. So Garrett Wilson, speed cutting versus breaking it down. So,
and I've noticed it with Garrett, not just off the line, but when he has the ball in his hands, like, and he's in open field, you see his mind, he wants to do something and he's correct. Like he's gonna he's going to go to the house, but he trips himself up because his mind is so far ahead of his feet. It's crazy.
So we're going to lightning round it a little bit. Sabo's got to go at like, I'm going to drop you off at like 5:15. Sabo, if that's okay. Let me know if you got to do a little bit earlier. We have 2 super chats. One from Hype. He says, big difference in catching passes and kicks. No spirals. Yeah. End over end versus the spiral. And again, it's just coming from a different location. You know, you have to, it's a lot harder to field it when, again, it's 30 yards in the air versus coming in more of a direct angle. So yeah, it's definitely different. Appreciate the super chat, Hype. Another one from Dan Murphy. If I can get to it, here it is. Thank you for the super chat. Dan says, look at these guys. Appreciate y'all. Football is back, baby. Yeah, it's nice. And Sabo is actually going to be able to come out of his room this year and do some film breakdowns and some scheme stuff. I'm legitimately excited to have Sabo on at least once a month. So Dan, appreciate the super chat as well. So getting back to the Rodgers thing, which we'll obviously hit the positions again. We'll do it relatively quickly. Rodgers, if he did not miss those practices, maybe he only misses 1 pass today instead of 2, but obviously still looking great. Sabo, and you said you obviously, you said he looked great as well. The arm is still lively, it seems as well. So he didn't lose anything off of the arm. And we said it when we were building. I don't know if he did it team building or whatever. Maybe it was me and Nania last week, but like. He was a guy, he'd get out of the pocket and stuff, but Rodgers is and always has been elite because of his mind and his arm. Like he's not a guy like Lamar Jackson where, okay, now he doesn't have that athleticism. He's going to be, a middling quarterback. And something I talked about with Nania last week was like, and this is a little bit of a homer statement, but like, is there a world you could see Rodgers being like the second best quarterback in the league this year? Like who is guaranteeing that Allen's better and Lamar is better and Burrow is better and Herbert's better? If you have a guy who still has an elite arm with an elite mindset, with the talent he has in this team, he could be one of the better quarterbacks in the league. And like, yeah, sure, he was rated 8th overall, and we'll take 8th overall. With this team, we only need a top 10, top 15 quarterback play, and we can make a run. But if you get top 3 level MVP type Aaron Rodgers, which I see as a possibility, like, watch out for the Jets. And I think there's no reason where we have to like suppress our hopes for him. Like you could be excited about Rodgers. I still think he's going to be, in my opinion, a top 5, top 6 guy. I don't think that is going to be much lower than that, if anything.
I agree. I mean, and the only difference is, first of all, Jets fans have nothing to worry about in terms of him dropping off a cliff. That's one.
Yeah.
Worrying about injury, okay, that's always going to be there for his age, 40 or 41, whatever he is, that old freaking man. Yeah, I get that. That's always going to be there, but he's, to your point, he's so smart. If you see any changes from him, it'll be everything quicker processing, quicker giving up on a play, quicker darting it, quicker placement in terms of where he wants to get rid of it, instead of running into a situation where he hurt himself last year trying to be superhero. That's the only change. And if he gets that change down, and he plays a little safer, he still could be absolutely top 5, no question.
You've seen Allen have bad games. Burrow's been injured for the last couple of years. Lamar Jackson has his up and downs. Herbert has absolutely no receivers. Trevor Lawrence has been, I would say a little bit disappointing as a generational type guy. Obviously Mahomes is Mahomes, but like, I think Rodgers still has it, man. I really do. And like, unless he starts to check out mentally, I just can't see him ever being a less than like top 10 guy, especially considering his arms. So just be excited. I'd be excited about him.
Let me ask you this. If Josh Allen, his raw attributes had Aaron Rodgers' mind, is that a better quarterback than Mahomes?
Yeah.
I think so too.
Yeah,
it's the best quarterback. It's the best quarterback in the history of the world.
Mahomes, I think he's the best ever because Mahomes takes a risk. Like Mahomes is an elite quarterback. Obviously, he's elite for many reasons, but it's because of the athleticism and stuff. But like, he's not prone to throwing a ball into a linebacker's chest, and Rodgers was not ever like that.
Agreed. Like that's scary. If Josh Allen gets it done. It's amazing what he's done with his, and I'm not saying he's a dumb quarterback mind. He's just not on that level of a Burrow, Mahomes, or Rodgers. Mm-hmm. And this is just to point out that Rodgers is that damn special between the ears. And that's not going to change. I mean, it's not 1986. These guys get protected. It's a different freaking league. So, 40 at quarterback's not the same as it used to be.
Yeah, so Rodgers also said that the last 5% of his recovery is the mental aspect of the game, just kind of feeling out that Achilles again, getting on the move. He noted that down. You also had the Jets. I don't know how exactly Salah said it. Again, I have to listen back to the press conferences, but he said that Jordan Travis isn't as far along as they hoped, and now they signed Ben Bryant. You hear anything about that?
Yeah, I saw him today walking in. I'm like, who the hell's that number 15? I know Seibert, the backup kicker, other kicker, I should say, is 15, but Ben Bryant from Northwestern, he's been he transferred a bunch of times in college. He's a big kid. He was there in OTAs along with Peasley. Travis, I think he's going to take some time. Mike Williams, on the positive side, I think he's going to come back quicker than people think. But Travis, they could be searching for a third quarterback if Peasley doesn't work out.
Yeah.
These next
that was another thing. That was another good point by the Mike Williams stuff, because I heard that he was a little bit ahead of schedule as per Rodgers, and like you said, with teams versus Garrett Wilson, and single teaming him. Same thing with Mike Williams, dude. Like, obviously he's not as dynamic as Garrett Wilson is, but you see Mike Williams versus one-on-one coverage, and you're in a tough spot. Just take a one-on-one shot, back shoulder with him and Aaron Rodgers. That's what's made him elite. I would say that's his most famous type of throw is his back shoulder balls, and
yes,
that's what Mike Williams is, in my opinion, top 5 guy in the league. Now, other stuff, yeah, he's not a top 5 receiver, but find me more than 5 guys better than him at back shoulder balls and contested catches.
The perfect quarterback. The perfect quarterback for Mike Williams is Rodgers.
Yeah, no doubt.
Period. So Mike Williams could have the best year of his career this year. No joke.
So a few comments to get to. Sabo Blewett for 2024. We have Nate here from the super chat, which we appreciate. The 2 that I trust the most when it comes to Jets takes. Thanks for all your research and analysis. Curious, what are the benefits as a member of JetX? Go ahead, Mr. Sabo. That's a perfect tossing you a softball here.
Who's asking that?
We have Nate. We have Nate who's asking us, what are the benefits as a member of JetX?
You get all of Blewetts film reviews, which are substantial. You basically unlock the paywall. Like when you go to The Athletic, every article is behind the paywall, right? At JetX, not every article is behind the paywall. We do a lot of free articles, but the good stuff is like the in-depth film reviews, the analytics, a lot of the camp notes. Like today, I wrote an article about today that's behind the paywall. So you get every article unlocked. You get no ads, so you get an ad-free experience, and you get an audio version of each article. At the top of each article, you click play, and you can listen to the articles.
Yeah, no, and that's great too. Like if you're driving and stuff like that, you obviously don't want to be on your phone. You just want to listen to an article. Yeah, I think that's obviously great.
A lot of people sign up just for that, which it's worth it.
And you're going to be able to do some stuff with Wayne as a JetX member.
Yes.
We're not going to say exactly what we're doing with YouTube, but we're going to have some YouTube perks for the members as well. We're going to do some YouTube stuff.
For the YouTube only people, we're gonna come out with some membership stuff for YouTube as well. It'll be a lot cheaper in comparison. But there's going to be a lot of stuff with Wayne and Blewett and good stuff coming. It's going to be separate from the website. Website will still be the big membership area, but YouTube's going to be like an add-on, an extra little bonus.
We have Clifford who says he can listen to both all day. Great show. We have Grove Pete who says football is back. Joe Blewett and Robbie Sabo. We appreciate you as well. We have Sabo for a couple more minutes. If you guys want to load up the chat a little bit. Whose voice would read me the articles? Do we have Nania read every single article and we make that a little another
Amazon? Yeah, you know what? That's funny. Amazon only gave me a few options. One was Matthew. One was Jennifer. They got these generic names. We should do Nania, or put in the chat. Come up with a unique voice. Samuel Jackson. How about that? Samuel Jackson, JetX.
Could we get Bob Wischusen to read every single article? We pay him a lot of money.
I think he's out of our price range, to be honest.
Yeah. Maybe in a few years. Maybe. But load up the chat a little bit. Once Sabo jumps off, I'll hit the chat up a little bit, and then I'll jump off. But I want to wrap up the rest of the training camp talk before Sabo has to go. 3 more positions I want to hit: offensive line, tight end, and corner. You kind of hit on tight end a little bit, so I'll just go back to that. Obviously we're seeing, people are talking up Conklin. We know Conklin's going to be pretty solid with Rodgers, but the guys past him. Ruckert had a good day. Apparently he caught some lasers from Rodgers, and then tight end 3. Who has that been in your opinion? I think you're a Kenny Boa guy, right?
I am. I was, and I still am. But Kuntz is getting a little more time than I thought he would. With the second team, it's Yeboah and Kuntz in 12 on the second team. Ruckert obviously in 12 with Conklin. Ruckert made a nice catch. Looked easy. It was tougher than it looked over the middle, east-west. Rodgers didn't hit him in stride. Little behind, not crazy behind, more inside shoulder going the other way. So good catch there. No obvious drops so far in camp from the tight ends, which is a really good sign.
So do you think that, in your opinion at this point, do you think they carry 4, or do you think that's a group of just 3? And then, because another thing too, and I said it before,
Bowden.
Exactly. Yeah. We must, or you must have the same thought, or we talked about that before, but I think they carry Bowden considering the amount of power and counter they're going to run. So correct. You have another guy there. So do you think it's only 3 tight ends at this point?
I think it'll be 3. Yeah.
Okay.
Unless Bowden's hurt, because that's his one bugaboo. He seems to be always hurt, and he's hurt right now. And I can't picture a Rodgers offense, especially this offense, without a fullback. So, no Bowden. Okay, they'll go 4. But if they have Bowden, I think it's just 3.
Nate says just joined. Good salesman, Robbie. So we got another JetX member there. So that's
use discount code 80 for it's Wayne Corbett discount, by the way.
There we go.
What was that?
You've never seen the video of the surfer guy getting interviewed with the whoop-ha? I can send it to you. I'll send it to you.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay, yeah. Yes. Yeah, we have a few bites. I know I know that I want to add some more into the actual StreamYard, so you don't have to have the roadcaster to do it. But I have the sound bites on the roadcaster. But we'll do a quick question about the offensive line before we get into it. From MM, he says, question for you guys: how do you evaluate offensive line play in practice? Some beat reporters hype up how a lineman plays, and I don't know how they come up to that. I think Sabo is going to say probably a similar way that I would answer this, but Sabo, the offensive line play, we kind of already talked about it a little bit. He said, how do you even see what a guard is doing, let alone evaluate technique?
You can't really do it, to be honest. You just got to. So with trench play, I kind of just take it as a whole. Like, you really can't. You might see something on the edge. If a free runner comes in, that'll turn some heads, and then a reporter will see which guy is turning around with his hands on his hips. Okay, he must have messed up. All I could say is there hasn't been those situations. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, sorry, I interrupted you twice. We saw a lot of chatter that Max Mitchell looked really good today as the second team right tackle. So are you you're not buying those reports, Sabo?
Not buying it, because he's going up against Clemens, who is sort of always fighting himself on whether to bull rush or whether to use hands.
Yeah.
He kind of does like this semi bull rush while trying to slow the hype train down for Mitchell. I mean, it's a good sign that the running game off the right side looked pretty good with Schweitzer and Mitchell, but I think that's about all. That's about as far as I can go.
Yeah, I don't think you evaluate much of offensive line play. But we heard that Smith looked good. Apparently, you had Simpson who had penalties, which is a concern because that was his bugaboo with the Ravens as well. Some false starts, some holding. So he needs to get obviously on top of his shit there. And then quickly before we get to corner and we let you go, you have Max Mitchell as the starting or the second team right tackle, which obviously a lot of shit can change, right? Like Sauce was behind Bryce Hall. You have Garrett Wilson, who was behind a lot of people at the beginning of the year. You have Tippmann as a third string, the third string center to start off the year last year. So are you buying anything into Max Mitchell being the second team right tackle over Carter Warren at this point, or do you think they're just going to kind of rotate those guys and see who is the best?
Over Carter Warren, yes, probably. Over Olu, not so much. So I think that's where I stand. Olu, no. Gotcha. Carter Warren, yeah.
Okay. So last position, unless you have anything else to throw out there at the end. Cornerbacks, Sauce is getting some pass deflection. Sauce looks like Sauce does. Sauce looks amazing. Some good battles with Garrett Wilson. You saw Reed getting beat up a little bit. Now, transparently he's getting beat up by, Garrett Wilson, so you shouldn't look into it too much, but he got cooked on the one double move, and then it looked like another pass interference deep down the field where Garrett Wilson probably should have caught it.
I haven't seen the replay on that one yet, so
okay.
maybe you could tell me. Yes, it probably could have been a pass interference, but it was excellent coverage from the jump, and he recovered so well around the 20 or 15-yard line. So from that point forward until the ball got there, it was great coverage, in my opinion. Like, it was the toughest play to cover as a corner or safety is, the Willie Mays with a lot of air underneath it, and he stayed with Garrett. So I give him kudos for that, even if it was pass interference. So Reed was okay. Garrett got Carter, and I don't want to get on Carter because I didn't really see the coverage. I know it was a zone, but the way Carter reacted at the end, it was his read, his responsibility. So Carter got a ding today, which is very uncharacteristic. Just one play, though. Same thing with Reed on that double move. And Sauce was in position on every play. There was one where he shut down, got the PD against Garrett. I think it was like a 10-yard. I don't think it was a comeback. It was more of just a 10-yard stop near the sideline. And Rodgers gave him a chance, threw it on time, but Sauce was all over him. It was just great coverage, smothering.
Yeah, and in terms of like him deep down the field, I think that's what Garrett Wilson has to work on the most, in my opinion, is him as a vertical receiver and contested catch situations. Again, if people watch the review, there's quite a few last year that he dropped that he could have made a play on. So it's something that he has to improve on, but we'll move past that.
Do you feel, Joe? Do you feel he doesn't? What I feel on deep balls, he doesn't attack it enough. He waits for the ball to come down.
He lets it come to him too much. Yeah, for sure. That, and you have some situations where he's looking to, and this is just drops in general. He looks to run before he brings it and all that stuff, but I don't want to keep you for too much longer. So, we have, Stiggers, who stood out a little bit as well. He got a pick today, and apparently he's been playing well all of the practices. It seems like Stiggers is standing out quite a bit as well, right?
Pick was yesterday. It doesn't matter though. Pick was yesterday. Yeah. Here's the real story. Good coverage, disciplined coverage. It wasn't a crazy interception. The interception was a reward for being disciplined. He was maintaining contact the entire way, one-on-one, no over-the-top help. But Peasley, it was a bad throw. Peasley threw it inside late, no air, and all he had to do was turn and just grab it. It was a terrible throw. Good coverage, disciplined coverage, but an opportunist like interception.
Gotcha. And then the last question I want to ask you about some of the corner kind of battles is seems like Isaiah Oliver is going to be like that fourth safety for the Jets at this point, just based on familiarity with the scheme and solid and all that stuff. But so it kind of seems like to me that they're going to keep one of JBC, Converse, or Jalen Key. Did you see? Apparently JBC's been making some plays at corner. So do you think they keep him as like the sixth corner, and then he has some safety versatility? And then you have Isaiah Oliver, who's the fourth safety, who also has some corner versatility. So some of the guys on the back end have versatility, while your top four corners obviously or your top five corners would be, the big three that they have. You have Stiggers, and then you have Eccles, and then JBC at 6 and Oliver at the fourth safety. That's what I'd probably guess right now.
Yeah,
10,
I think that's.
And you have 10.
I think that's right. I think those are the 10. Key versus JBC is probably the 10
spot.
JBC had a nice PD yesterday. Broke on the ball again. This is like the Stiggers play. He broke on the ball again at like a 10-yard stop, not a true comeback. In rhythm stop. I think it was Tyrod. It was either Tyrod or Peasley. I think it was Tyrod. And Tyrod, good break on the ball. Nice coverage, not anything crazy. But the reason it happened is because it was a late delivery. Like, it wasn't in rhythm, wasn't on time. Gotcha. So kudos to the QB.
Yeah, not all picks are created equal. But Sabo, you have a show in about an hour and 40 minutes with Wayne Corbett. Anything else you want to say from practice? And if not, and just sign off.
No, we're good to go. Be back at it tomorrow, and then Saturday. The fans will be back on Saturday again, so that's good. When the fans are there, it's always good. It's frustrating because the videos go up from the fans, and the media can't shoot videos of teams. Yeah. But besides that, the atmosphere is so much better. So check
and,
in.
And you enjoy you're attacked. You know, that gray hair, that luscious gray hair. Everybody knows who Sabo is. You know, you get attacked by the fans there as well. So you must enjoy that a little bit.
Getting clawed all the time. Come on now. But yeah, check in tonight at 7 with us. Ask Wayne Corbett anything.
Awesome. All right, Sabo. We'll see you. We'll see you next time. I think we're going to do a 53-man roster prediction in a few weeks with you. So we'll see you then.
All right. Later, guys.
All right. And Sabo is off, and he will be doing another stream at 7 o'clock with Wayne Corbett. I'm going to go through the chat a little bit. I don't think there's anything really much else in here, but I'm going to go through some of the battles in camp. I'll run through some of the positions, or I guess really just all the positions, and see where we have our best battles. Yeah, for you're talking about, the offensive line, the trenches play. Again, I'm not going to throw names out there or anything like that. I'll bite my tongue on some of the stuff I see, but there are people who I definitely know that you should not be listening to about offensive line play in general, and especially at practice. Again, Sabo is one of the best. If not, he's actually the best. I'll modify that statement. He is the best in terms of watching a play and being able to process, okay, middle of the field closed, middle of the field open. This happened on the play. Rodgers looked here. He went to his second read on this concept versus this coverage. Like, he's really good at evaluating in real time. And he's and better than I am and was when I was at camp. I'll be transparent there, and I'm sure a lot of it, as he admitted, is from coaching and being on the field so much. But he can't see it. I couldn't see it. If neither of us can see it, you tell me which beat reporter you're going to want to trust in terms of offensive line play. So I think people kind of see like the aftermath of the play and then just say, like, "Oh, good job by this guy," but you can't really evaluate trenches. Offensive line, defensive line, running backs, I really couldn't give. I give the tiniest little shit about that in camp, but not much. You're talking about, like, okay, if a guy's getting beat cleanly, he's getting beat all the time. You had Becton getting beat up a lot by Carl Lawson. You have false starts. Yeah, some of that stuff you'll note down, but like the little tiny stuff, like Max Mitchell playing well versus Clemens today, from certain reporters, I'm not buying any of that stuff. You have certain people, man, who I just see their tweets go out. I'm like, ugh, woof. Well, I'm not going to try to shit on anybody, so it is what it is. But yeah, evaluating technique and stuff like that, absolutely not. Connor, go listen to Connor. He's been killing it. I think you had something else relatively big on your channel recently, right, Connor? Was it maybe like something from like ESPN or something? I don't know exactly what you had, but our Nets signed another bust to a 1-year deal, aka Killian Hayes. I think I know who that is, but I kind of forget. But nonetheless, Nets are supposed to suck. So Gibson injury from Kerwin. I saw that as well, that he came out for a little bit. I didn't see it being anything serious, so I wouldn't be so concerned. Thanks. Yeah. Jeremy Fowler from he's an ESPN guy, right? So go check out Connor. Recent interview with Jeremy Fowler. Obviously, he's doing articles for us. I believe you do something with Boy Green as well, which I'm going to, I'll be on Boy Green's show, I think next Thursday or Friday. I'll be on Boy Green sometime in the afternoon. So watch out for that. Thoughts on the Hayes signing for the Nets? I don't know, dude. Basketball, I'm relatively casual, especially with the Nets being so bad now. Like, I'm not really gonna be watching a ton of the games. Like, I'll watch some of them, but I'm much more of a casual basketball fan. Basketball has lost me in recent years, and Connor, I am being like the old man, get off my couch type stuff here, or get off my lawn type of stuff here. But the NBA, when I started watching in the late 90s, early 2000s, is completely different than it is now. You have guys. France, Killian Hayes. You have guys who are literally taking 4 or 5 steps from center court to dunk the ball. They don't call double dribbles. They don't call travels. It's just, you're not allowed to play defense. Like, at least call double dribbles. Like, I can't watch guys take 4 steps and dunk the ball anymore. It just, the product is terrible. I don't like the NBA really much at all. It's becoming my 4th sport at this point. I'm even liking baseball over it, which the Mets have been killing it. Obviously lost a little bit more than they wanted to the Marlins, but sweeping the Yankees this season is a nice little consolation prize for the Mets. Again, I know a lot of Yankees fans out there say, "Oh, enjoy your World Series." Well, I will enjoy the World Series, but yeah, some of the best battles to watch. I'll just go through battles in general. I don't have a list of any battles I even wrote down, so I don't have like 1 through 5. This is the best battle. Quarterback, you have a battle at quarterback 3/4 right now between Paisley, whatever he is, and the guy we just signed, who's going to be the guy taking reps in preseason. You have running back battles. You have Braylon Allen versus Isaiah Davis for running back 2. I think it's probably going to be Allen over Davis, but I see Davis being the more consistent player, so I could see him, out-repping Allen at some point in the season, or him just taking over that like primary backup role, because I think he's much more consistent than Allen is, even though Allen offers, again, a little bit more of a high upside. The real battle, though, I think with running back is going to be like Izzy versus Cohen. Seemingly based on everything we've heard so far, Cohen still has the burst. Cohen's showing some good flashes, some good vision, and everything you hear from Izzy is pretty much nothing. There's really nothing out there in terms of Izzy. And if there is stuff out there about Izzy, it's usually a bad thing. So I agree with Sabo. Like, based on everything we're hearing, and I said this before camp started, I think it's going to be Cohen as your running back 4/special teams guy, unless Izzy proves himself to be either valuable as a running back or valuable as a special teamer. And he didn't do anything on special teams last year. So Cohen has the leg up already in terms of special teams. So he's going to really outproduce him as a running back. But everything you're hearing right now is that Cohen is showing some bursts and some big plays, while Izzy does, pretty much nothing. And he's not even getting in with a second team, that Sabo said. So that's a concern. So that's a battle to watch. Tight end, I would say the biggest battle there is really you have Conklin as tight end 1. I think if Yeboah had some amazing offseason, maybe he could start to push Ruckert for some playing time. I doubt that, though. If there is any real battle at tight end, it's probably really more so Yeboah versus Kuntz for tight end 3. I don't think the Jets carry 4 tight ends. So who's going to be that tight end 3? Based on everything we're hearing again right now, it is Yeboah. Even though an interesting note is the fact that Rodgers said when he was playing on the scout team last year versus starting defense, him and Kuntz were connecting quite a bit. So does that carry over to this year? That's the question. But based on everything we're hearing, it is Yeboah. And I think Yeboah is tight end 3. Kuntz is probably on the practice squad, but I don't think you need to carry Kuntz. If he gets picked up by another squad, it is what it is. But I do think the Jets would like to carry a fullback, a Nick Bawden, over a Zach Kuntz at this point. Receiver, in terms of some of the battles we're watching, this is something that I'm not the biggest fan of Allen Lazard. I think they're overpaying him by a ton, and he's not a good player. But as a Jets fan, I obviously want the best for the Jets. So I'm never going to root against any Jet player. Like, I want them all to dominate, and Lazard dominating is good for our Super Bowl chances. So it's not going to be a thing where I see him playing well in practice, I'm like, oh, like this sucks. Like, I want him to suck. No, I want him to be the best player he can possibly be, and him catching touchdown passes from Rodgers is great. Like, even if he's a valuable tight end or receiver 4, like, fine, we'll take it for $11 million. It's not ideal, but him just contributing somewhat is better than him contributing nothing and being a healthy scratch for 3 or 4 games. So does Allen Lazard continue to play well and kind of earn himself some reps? Does Gibson, how much does he push for playing time? Does he continue to impress, or he impressed at first and then slow down a little bit the last 2 practices? But can he up his game and make some plays? And then you have guys on the bottom of the roster. Is Irv Charles a lock because he is a special teams guy? He's going to be the gunner. Does Brownlee have a chance? So there's some bottom of the roster things we're looking at for the receiver group. We're obviously looking at Mike Williams. Is he going to return quicker than we think he is? Aaron Rodgers hinted towards that, or just straight up said that he's ahead of schedule right now. So when does he come back to practice? Past that, offensive line, you're looking at some battles. You have your starting 5, Max Mitchell versus Carter Warren for the primary backup right tackle. That's going to be something worth watching. I'm hoping that Carter Warren takes it. Carter Warren, I think, has a little bit more athleticism, and obviously we've seen 2 bad years of Max Mitchell versus 1 bad year of Carter Warren. So Carter Warren probably he's a better chance, I would say, to be an okay player than Max Mitchell, because the sample size of them being or of him being not good is not as long as Max Mitchell's. So you probably look at Carter Warren in a more positive light. So let's hope he beats him out right there for the backup right tackle. And then past that, there's a lot of battles on the interior of the offensive line. Now, none that are necessarily worth noting, but who is the backup behind Schweitzer? Because you're not going to have Schweitzer as the backup left guard, backup center, and backup right guard and have nobody else on the roster, right? Like, you're going to carry at least 5 interior offensive linemen. And obviously you have your starters. You have Simpson, you have Tippmann, You have AVT, you have Schweitzer as a primary backup for all three of those positions, but you're not running into the season with just those four. There's going to be a fifth there. I would bet a lot on it. So is that a Jake Hansen? Is that an Xavier Newman? Is that the dude we signed from the CFL? Is that Brady Latham? Who is that going to be for the Jets? But that's a battle worth watching. But realistically, I'm hoping the Jets just sign somebody. I'm not comfortable if Xavier Newman comes into a game or Jake Hansen. So sign Connor McGovern back for the minimum. That's the end goal. Flipping to the defense, you have some battles on the defensive line. Really more at D end than D tackle. I don't think they keep more than 40 tackles. Q, Solomon Thomas, Javon Kinlaw, Leaky Fotu. Maybe Taylor makes it, but I don't see it based on his track record with not trying and the Jets, emphasis on going balls to the wall every play. I just don't see him being a good fit. But defensive end is a spot you want to watch. For obviously you have your three primary guys. Maybe they carry 4, maybe they carry 5, but you have your 3 guys in McDonald, Reddick, and JJ. But behind that, is it Tack McKinley? The first round draft pick / bust of the Falcons from like 2017. I believe it was like 2017. And in 2017, he had like 3 sacks. In 2018, he had like 8 sacks. And then he just fell off the face of the earth. And now he's back on the Jets. Is it him? Is it Eric Watts, the UDFA? Is it McGregor, the UDFA? Who's going to take that spot as the 4th guy? Is it Michael Clemens? Is it Clemens as the 4? And then all these guys are fighting for 5? I don't know. I think the Jets, obviously, they carry at least 4. You'd assume right now that's Clemens. But is there that 5th guy? Is it Watts? Is it McGregor? Is it Taylor? And I really do think one of those guys can really overtake Clemens as well, because I don't think Clemens has necessarily earned himself a spot on this roster. It's not like he's been such a stud these first 2 years that I'm going to be, shocked if Eric Watts makes it over him. Like, he hasn't done anything at this point. So there's a battle for DN4, DN5, linebacker. I don't really think there's much of anything there. You have your starting 2. Sherwood, in my mind, is locked as the linebacker 3. I think people in general underrate him. He doesn't play a lot. When he does play, he's been good. Specifically last year, I did a review. Go back and watch. I was impressed with him in limited reps. Your fourth guy, I guess there's a battle there between Surratt and Zaire Barnes. I think the Jets probably do end up only keeping 4 there and not 5 linebackers. So I guess the biggest battle there is between Surratt, a guy who we saw in Hard Knocks, the Jets staff, and specifically Saleh was pretty giddy about in preseason, versus Zaire Barnes, who was a 6th round draft pick of last year. So who makes out of those guys? Do both of those guys make it? That's a battle worth watching. Safety 4 is a battle worth watching. You have your top 2. I think Ashton Davis is firmly your 3. I don't think he overtakes any one of the starting guys. Safety 4, not JBC, because he's a corner now, but Isaiah Oliver versus Jalen Key. I think, Isaiah Oliver is pretty safe there, but can Jalen Key make any noise? And then corner, is it JBC in spot 6? JBC versus himself, does he show enough for the Jets to keep him there? I kind of think it's between JBC as corner 6 or JBC at corner 6 versus Jalen Key as safety 5. I think those guys are kind of battling each other for a roster spot. So that's another spot worth watching. And then past that, it's really the kickoff return spot, or kickoff return, punt return. Who gets those jobs? Corley, Gibson, Cohen. Those are some of the battles we're watching. I ran through them pretty quickly. NBA text, LeBron moved to China. I'm not sure exactly what you mean there, but I would enjoy nothing more than LeBron moving to China. I don't like LeBron for a myriad, for a shit ton of reasons. I'm going to say a myriad of reasons, however you pronounce that word. But I don't like LeBron at all. So yeah, LeBron moving to China, great. Get him out of the league. I just don't enjoy watching him play. His excuses. He's the biggest, softest guy I've ever met in my life. For a guy who's 6'8", 270, 260, 250, could whoop my ass. I will still call him soft as a person. I think he's a mentally soft individual. And which, by the way, I refused to watch his Space Jam movie that came out, but my sister-in-law was watching it one day, and I happened to catch like 20 minutes of it. The movie was absolute garbage as well. It was trash. like I'm watching the movie, and at least make it make sense where like 2 points is 2 points. You know, they're playing a game and like the score is changing by the thousands. It's like at one time it's, you know, for lack of a better example, it would be like 80 to 70, and the score would get all jumbled up, and then it would be like 90 to 30. And it's like the movie doesn't even make sense. So the movie sucked. LeBron sucks. He's a soft individual. I hate LeBron for many reasons. Him moving to China would be awesome. Gary says, Gary Berman, fans moan about Redick holding out. Look at the Niners. These things happen. I'm okay with him holding out to, at the minimum, get guaranteed money. I get as him being an athlete, being concerned about him going to camp, playing balls to the wall in camp. He tears his ACL, and the Jets cut him, and he doesn't make any of the $14-15 million he's owed. I don't know if he can cut injured players or whatever. You know, I'm not exactly sure, but he wants his money guaranteed. I'm okay with him wanting the Jets to guarantee the money. But if it's a thing where he told the Jets, hey, I'm okay with a little bit of a sweetener to come to the team and I'll play, and then he went back on his word and is now asking for 25 to 28 million, you know, shame on him. Shame on the Jets for not getting it in writing, because, you know, having a handshake agreement means absolutely nothing. It doesn't mean shit. In real world, handshake agreements don't mean anything. So the Jets, at the minimum, should have got it in writing. Hey, we're going to increase your salary from $15 million. We're going to guarantee that. We're going to throw on $2 million for being, you know, here's an attaboy, and then we'll give you another $3 to $5 million in incentives. Like, okay, I think that's something that's in the realm of realism. Do I think the Jets are going to extend Redick to a 2-year, $50 million deal? I don't see this happening. I just don't. I would be pleasantly surprised if the Jets can make Redick work the next 2 years while also being involved with, you know, Devontae Adams, while also, you know, signing Garrett Wilson. So I see Redick as a 1-year guy. If it's a 2-year guy, great. Again, what are the effects of that though? You know, bringing on Redick for 2025, does that mean you can't re-sign DJ Reed or Michael Carter or Conklin? Or is that going to hurt you in the future for signing Breece Hall or JJ? You know, I don't necessarily know. I just don't see a world where it's possible that the Jets have Redick in 2025 and Devontae Adams this year. And going forward with Redick, it's part of my concern with the Jets moving forward is like, hey, is it going to be a situation where next offseason now we're looking for another D end? Because if Redick's not on the team next year, even if McDonald balls out, he gets 8 sacks this year. Okay, let's say he gets 8 sacks. JJ has another 8 sacks. JJ and McDonald, both coming off of 8 sack seasons, is that enough for Robert Saleh's system in 2025? Probably not. So I would assume then next year, let's say Redick walks, you get a 4th round comp pick from him. Do they bring in Jadeveon Clowney, you know, or one of these type of guys? Probably. I don't see it being a situation where the Jets are rolling with what they have now in 2025. I still think you probably have to add a, you know, Jadeveon Clowney type, but I don't see Redick being on the team next year. So with that being said, I also don't just see the point of throwing on extra money for no reason. Like, he has to be here. He has to guarantee the money, give him some sweeteners, fine. But I don't think the Jets are going to go above and beyond because he needs to play. You're talking about a 30-year-old edge rusher. If he was 25, 26 years old, would I be more concerned about him sitting out? Yeah, probably, because he's already in the back end of his prime. You can't just take a year off. You can't. So he has to play. Now, because you want to seem like, you know, because you don't want there to be like a rift in the locker room, yeah, throw on a few million for incentives or sweeteners and guarantee the money. Fine, but they're not going above and beyond. It's just stupid to, because then you're decreasing his value. They traded for him because he's on a cheaper deal and he's still a top flight guy. But if you're going to just end up giving him a ton more money, again, you're negating some of the value in the contract. And again, what I think the Jets' mindset was, hey, we're gonna trade a 3rd round pick for him, and then we're gonna get a 4th round comp pick back. So you're trading, again, a 4th for a 3rd for Redick, basically. That's how I see it. A 4th for a 3rd for 1 year of Redick is most likely what's going to be the situation, because I don't think the Jets make a ton of moves in free agency next year. Rivka says, not surprised at all about Izzy. The minute I saw your review of him last year, I knew it would come to this. The guy is fast, has no contact balance, no moves, no nothing. Yeah, I don't remember being, I don't know if I was super negative in the review, but I was saying like, hey, there's a lot. I know there's a lot more we need to see at the NFL level. So the New York Mets have been a home running hitting machine. Yeah, dude. Lindor has been great. Obviously, McNeil is bouncing back. You have the young guys who are playing well. I'm interested to see what they do in Pete Alonso in the future. Do they trade him? The AutoZone says, does Max Mitchell play guard? He did last year. Does he play it well? No, but he can play guard. So he has some versatility in terms of playing tackle guard. And maybe that's what they do. Maybe Max Mitchell is OT 5, but interior offensive lineman 5 as well. Like maybe he's a swing guard, swing tackle. Okay, fine. Is that the best situation? No. To me, I'd much rather have Connor McGovern coming back here for, $1.9 million again than Max Mitchell playing guard. It's not, don't think chances there. Like, let's get some better interior offensive lineman depth. Rivka says, I'm starting to think that Takk McKinley will make the roster. I can see it. Again, and it's not like, maybe it's more so speaking to the lack of depth the Jets have, but like DN4, DN5, I think they're complete question marks. I think Clemens is probably your most likely DN4, but DN5, McKinley, Watts, McGregor, I think they're, I think they all kind of have an equal shot. So I do think Clemens is, I don't think he's a lock. But I do think he's pretty likely. Like I would be pretty damn surprised if he doesn't make it, transparently. So I do think there's a battle between Watts, McGregor, and Takk McKinley for 5. And right now, I would venture to guess, based on who I've heard the most of, it's either Watts or McKinley. I haven't heard too much about McGregor. But having McKinley being a vet and having played, relatively well under Ulbrich, I think he probably has a shoe up over Watts. But I've been hearing Watts making some plays as well. So Rivka says, Surratt has the advantage because of special teams. They can probably get Barnes to the practice squad. I think they could probably get both to the practice squad, realistically. Because Surratt hasn't really proven much in his NFL career. Obviously, maybe the fact that he was a 4th round pick adds some value to him, and people take shots on guys who have like some type of draft pedigree. Now, 4th round pick is, I'm not talking like a top 10 guy or anything like that, but there's something to that. Like NFL teams saying, "Hey, this guy was a 3rd or 4th round pick. Let's see if we can bring it out of him." Like those guys have an advantage over the UDFAs and stuff because they just have the fact that they were a draft pick at some point. Rivka, last comment in here, and then I'll jump off unless anybody else has anything else to comment. Good hour and a half or whatever. And then next week we'll have Nania back on. We're going to recap camp, and then we're going to stack the AFC East. We do it every year. We're going to compare the Jets running back group to the Dolphins and the Jets receivers to the Bills. And we're going to kind of go through like a point system, and whoever has the least points is the best team. And we're going to do it, and we're going to try to be as not biased as we can possibly be. Rivka says Reddick wants Daniel Hunter's contract. Unfortunately for him, he's under contract while Hunter was a free agent. Them the breaks. Yeah, it's a thing where he has to play. Again, he has to. I'm fine with throwing a sweetener on there to make him so he's not pissed all offseason. Throw the guaranteed money on there. But I just don't see the Jets saying, hey, here's $25 million so you come play. He has to play. Has to. I think they both need each other, but Reddick needs the Jets more so than the Jets need Reddick. Like he has to come play. He has to at least come to camp so they can negotiate. They said they're not going to negotiate while he's out. So again, if it was a thing where he got traded and he said, hey, Jets, I'll come for a little bit of sweeteners. And then he saw JFM get traded. He said, actually, I'm turning my back on that. I'm not living up to that statement. Shame on him. But also shame on Jets for not getting it in paper or in writing, signed, sealed, and delivered. You can't do handshake agreements anymore. It just doesn't, it doesn't work like that. So that's it. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Again, I'll be back next week with Nania. This is also available in podcast form. I get it up usually sometime within 24 hours. I get the podcast form up as well. So go to Blewetts Blitz on your podcast app. Leave a review there if you can. We haven't had a review in forever because I usually do it just on YouTube and the website. But go there. 38 reviews out. Go check them out as well. I think the only one that hasn't dropped yet is Quincy Williams. Enjoy camp. Football is back. I will see you guys